Hello, my friends. I hope you're having a beautiful, wonderful million day. And if not, I hope it gets a million times better. So, let's get us started. So, I am currently on my first One Piece journey, and I am loving it. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, it's consumed my entire life. And there's nothing I want to talk about it besides it, as I've heard is a common experience in these times. And if there's one thing that I truly love about One Piece, it is the women. I would genuinely argue that One Piece has some of the best written women in shonen. I could say all of anime, but I mean, give or take. For now, we'll just say shonen. Okay? Even though we can have some issues on how the same face syndrome, same body type syndrome for all the women who are deemed attractive, the writing of these women are genuinely, I would argue, fantastic. Okay? All of our, especially at the start of the story, all of the arcs that are considered the best are centered around women and women's stories. And while Sanji exists, Love in the Pieces, Whole Cake Island just finished. For context, I'm just starting Wano. Um, Genuinely, this show, this manga, whatever you want to call it, has great women characters. Now, what I want to talk about today is something that I've been thinking about a lot. Like I said, I'm in Wano now. I'm like only a few episodes in. But something that popped into my mind when we just saw like the Reverie. If you're not caught up to the start of Wano, I'm talking about everything I know from this point. And please don't spoil in the comments anything past the start of Wano because that's where I'm at. We just see Vivi and Rebecca for the first time. And Vivi is genuinely one of my favorite characters and has been since she has graced my screen with her beautiful presence. So much so that I wanted to make Vivi in my Tomodachi Life Island before I even thought about making Luffy or any of the other Straw Hats. I love Vivi. And then Rebecca. I like Rebecca, but I personally did not connect with Rebecca as much as I did Vivi. And I found this very interesting because the more I thought about it, their arcs are relatively similar. Honestly, what I'm noticing a lot post time skip and pre time skip is that I'm seeing a lot of parallels in the arc. Of course, Dressrosa and Alabasta are very different, but specifically in these two princesses' stories, I find them very similar. And I was originally going to call this video something like what Vivi did right that Rebecca like what or something like that. And I still think that like Rebecca is a good solid character. I think she had good writing and I think she had good moments to shine within the story. But I have never seen this might just be me, I know I'm relatively new. I have never seen anyone talk about Rebecca the way they talk about Vivi. And I just find that very interesting. To be fair, Alabasta is way earlier in the story, so even that can just cause a bit of discourse. But honestly, I've seen more people talk about Doflamingo than I've seen talk about Frankie, okay? Love Frankie, that's my boy. So, I don't even think that that is a part of the conversation here. Now, so just what I'm going to do in this video is I'm just going to kind of talk about their stories in parallel, and talk about where I think Vivi's character shone a little bit more, while Rebecca kind of fell off. Not fell off, because once again, she's still a good character, but where I think that she did not ride to the same heights that Vivi did. So, there's a few things I want to talk about first. The first of them is Dressrosa is long as fuck. I'm an anime only, okay? I know in the manga it's whatever, better pace, but we're talking about anime only, okay? Dressrosa is long, okay? And there is so much going on in that arc where it's a little cluttered. And I don't mean that necessarily in a bad way, because I did enjoy what was going on. Like, there was a lot of chaos, and I can appreciate that. But I think this is starting to be one of the central points of why Rebecca didn't shine as much. Because yes, Rebecca was part of the Gladiators thing, and she was with a toy soldier, and she was kind of connected to every like red line in the story. There was so much more going on where Rebecca didn't even really get as much of a chance to shine as someone else did. Genuinely, at least for me, Baby 5 is now one of my favorite characters, and she was on the the sidelines. Really didn't have that much screen time considering everything, but it's just kind of that to compare. Otherwise, while Vivi, before even we get to Alabasta, she is seen with hanging out with the Straw Hats. She's seen hanging out with the bad guys, and so while she still has her strings connected and everything, Alabasta is a much simpler arc. I prefer Alabasta to Dressrosa. Not saying that in necessarily in a negative way, but there is less to focus on in Alabasta, so Vivi kind of gets more of the spotlight there. Now, another thing I want to talk about is just their base designs. Okay, Vivi's has like this like that like light blue hair, right? And Rebecca has that bright pink hair. I mean, honestly, I feel like it's more common for anime girls to have that pink hair than that blue hair, but then again, kind of potatoes. What I really want to focus on is Rebecca's starting outfit. You know what I'm talking about, okay? Honestly, the argument you can make, okay, the argument I will make, is that the reason she's put in this gladiator outfit is because, like, the whole reason she's in this gladiator is so people will, like, jeer at her, make fun of her, belittle her, because they all hate her, right? So why would they care if this 16-year-old is in this, like, outfit that's, like, barely anything? So, I will say that. There is logical reasons within the story that she would wear a degrading outfit. However, it could have been anything besides that. You know? And it could have been anything besides that. And you see, this is where Oda's, thoughts come into play, where, like, we could have worn anything besides that. And to be fair, one of the first things Sanji does when we get to Alabasta is put Vivi in that dancer outfit. But it's not that. You know? The dancer outfit, yeah, while it's meant to be a little bit more, like, showy or whatever, like, I'm pretty sure there's still, like, pants in it, and it's, like, decorated, and there's, like, a canon. I mean, they both have a canon reason, but, like, it's not that. I don't feel like I have to explain that. I feel like you're getting what I'm saying. And because Rebecca is immediately shown in this, like, outfit, at least my mind as a woman viewer who is constantly having to deal with the effects of what I wear just in this world, cry about it, woke piece. I think this immediate just, like, whoa, like, it was, like, we have a lot of, like, skimpy outfits in One Piece, like, let's be real between the two of us, but that, I was like, whoa. And I don't even know if she was a minor yet, okay? It's like, whoa. Like, that took me out. And honestly, I feel like that's why part of my brain kind of was like, meh. Because seeing that just makes her look like a fan service character. And so, by the way that she is designed, you're already kind of degrading her and not giving a way that should highlight her story. And just kind of making her look like fan service. When she is such a central character of the arc, I feel like you've given her a disservice by kind of showing her off, where we're more supposed to be focused on how she looks rather than how this world is treating her. If we wanted to follow the argument I made earlier, well, of course they're going to give her, like, this shoddy armor because they all hate her. They could have given her, we even still wanted to be a little showy, we could have given, like kind of like the dancer outfit, or, like, just, like, basic gladiator armor, but there's a bunch of holes in it. It has a bunch of dirt in it. It has grime. Like, there was ways to do this maturely, and it was not handled maturely at all. Like, between the two of us, let's be honest, it's kind of sickening, okay? Now, when I talked about the pacing earlier, I also want to acknowledge that. When I hear people talk about Dressrosa, before I even got to there, I was like, everyone was like, the pacing in Dressrosa sucks. Because I am binging it modern day, I don't think I found it as bad, but I could only imagine if I was, like, week to week on this shit and I saw Rebecca's flashback for, like, the 100th time, okay? Like, I get it. Like, even at the end, I was, like, skipping through, because it's the same scenes. I mean, there's, like, slight differences, but, like, potato, right? And I feel like that also did a disservice to Rebecca's character, because now we've used her important traumatic memories to fills space in the story to the point where majority of the audience has gotten annoyed of it. So now whenever you see poor little Rebecca, who's gone through a traumatic event in Toy Soldier, what we now know is our dialogue, we see, we're just like, I've seen this a million times. And so I know that's more of an anime thing, but I talk about, we're talking about anime only. Once again, that does a disservice to her character, because Rebecca has this like really powerful story, I would argue, but it just was used to fill up space. And so now everyone's just annoyed at it. While Vivi's flashback were very relatively concise. We saw her with the Sand clan, we saw her with Koza, we saw her with her dad a little bit. And I mean, yes, it was a central part of the story, so we kept like referencing it, but it wasn't played again and again and again to fill space. And something else that I also want to know that I've seen a lot, especially as I got farther into like One Piece and One Piece discourse, is that a lot of people talk about pre-time skip with rose-covered glasses. Like, I've seen like a million edits already where it's like, look at all the fun we were having pre-time skip. And I'm not criticizing that, because I think that's totally valid. Like, pre-time skip, like, we were able to be a little bit more free and joyful. Like, even with Vivi, I'm thinking back to Alabasta, like, genuinely, some of my favorite filler is some of those episodes where we're just, like, hanging around with Ace, and we're just, like, meeting the people of the town. While post-time skip, where we're at now, like, we got Big Mama, we got Kaido, we got the Smile Factory. Like, we don't have time to be playing silly jokes and games anymore. Like, even like I just said, the start of Wano, kind of the formula I've come to expect when we get to a new place is we come here, we hang out, like, we look around town a little bit, and then we're like, oh, there's something really up going on here. But no, we basically got to Wano, and before we had a little bit of that. But basically, like, pretty immediately when Luffy gets there, like, he helps this girl who's being attacked, so that's already like, whoa, girl, calm down, divas. And then this girl gives him his food, and then we learn that she's, like, literally starving. And we're like, oh, I love this. This is not a critique. I actually really want to talk about the introduction of Wano, because I thought that was genuinely genius because of Luffy's insatiable greed. But this is a different video, okay? So I think also that's kind of why Vivi kind of gets this little bit of a star treatment, because she's kind of in this, like, pre-time skip rosy colored glasses. And most people, I would say majority of people, Alabasta is the first time they were like, well, I mean, Nami's arc, but like the first like long saga where they were like absolutely hooked. And so she also has that to back her up. While Dressrosa, a lot of people do enjoy this arc. It's a lot of people are soured by it once again by its atrocious pacing in the anime. Now, I kind of want to talk about like their stories a little bit in parallel, something in a little bit more detail. Excuse me. So, first I want to start with Vivi, okay? So I'm not going to go through A, B, C, D, but just kind of main points that I think will be important for this conversation. So, she's a princess, right, in this deserty kingdom, okay? Beautiful. She had a pretty chill life growing up. She was hanging out with, like, some of the kids. Her dad and all of her support system seemed really supportive. She got to grow up relatively normally until I believe she was, like, around 14, 15. Stuff started going down in the kingdom, and people started trying to revolt against them, specifically against her father. So she had to go sail out to join a assassin agency to figure out who was ruining her kingdom for her people, basically leaving like all of her, besides Igaram, all of her friends and family behind in hopes to like set out and fix her kingdom. Then we meet the Straw Hats. We go through a little bit of a journey, and we get there, and we eventually, through trials and tribulations, we save the day, right? Learning that Crocodile, the world's hero, a 7 warlord of the sea, was actually the one that was doing all the harm to his country. Okay, now we're switching to Rebecca. Okay, Rebecca maybe got to live to like 5 years old before I don't even, it's genuinely so heartbreaking if you think about it. Before she saw her mom die, this like random toy soldier thing, because she doesn't remember yet, right? Like, by this time she doesn't remember. Was like, hey, sorry, it's my fault your mom died. And she's like, dude, screw you, okay? Then she had like a somewhat normal life because the toy soldier, who's actually her father, became like a father figure to her. They were living through poverty, but it was chill enough. Um, la la la. She was also forced to fight, but this was a big internal conflict with her because her mom was like, don't hurt others, right? So she had to learn to defend herself. But she didn't like learning to fight because she felt like it was against her mom's wishes. But this toy soldier, her dad, was like, bro, you gotta, okay? You gotta defend yourself. It's a scary world out there, okay? I'm just a little toy soldier. So sad. Okay, things go on. She is forced to be a part of the gladiator games because she is seen as this like a part of this old evil monarchy who terrorized the kingdom. Because now one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Doflamingo, that sneaky man, is now ruling Dressrosa, okay? When it really should be her and her family. Time goes on, she's in these gladiator games, she's a diva, she's winning them all, but she's doing them by never fighting back, in the sense of that she's always defending and letting their dumbasses fall out of the rink because of her instead of like her actively slicing and dicing all these fools, okay? Eventually Straw Hats show up, we work on this plot, trials and tribulations, and then Doflamingo's back, and she does not decide to go back to the royalty. She decides to go out with her father, who's no longer a toy soldier, and go make up for lost time, because she actually remembers him now, because that's a whole thing I didn't even touch on. I thought this art was complicated. I'm really trying to summarize it down to the important bits. But she's still close to the royal family, because that's her family, to the point where when they're going to the Reverie, which is like this big conference of all the royal families, seen the world government, she hops along for the ride because she's able to play as a lady-in-waiting. But because her dad's a criminal or had a criminal past, he's not allowed to officially be seen in the monarchy. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I know that was a lot. But like I said, hopefully you know all this, and I'm just kind of doing about this to refresh. Now, the first thing that I want to say that I find very interesting is how both of them fight back. Vivi takes on a very, well, they both take on an active role, but she takes a very active role where she literally leaves her country, leaves everyone behind to go and join this assassination secret organization to seemingly figure out what's happening to her country. She is not afraid of fighting back. She has her little peacock things. She was pretty well respected in the organization, hence why she was able to climb. She was paired with number 9, so that's pretty tough, right? While Rebecca, it's interesting to me about how this works for her. Not in a bad way, it is just interesting. I keep going back and turning and back and forth in my head, trying to decide how I feel about it. So, we know she is very powerful because she has never won a gladiator match. However, she does it all with, like, defense and getting the other person to mess up. So, I keep going back and forth how I feel about this. I like it positively, because first of all, like, this is something we haven't really seen another character do for as long as I remember. So it really makes her stand out in the narrative in that way. And especially because we see this, like, in this scary gladiator matches, like, we know that takes a lot of tremendous skill and effort. And she's really spent, like, basically her entire child life doing this, so it makes sense that she's so powerful. And you can make an argument that it's more powerful that she's able to do all of this without fighting back. So I like it in that way. However, I'm like, I don't know. You know, like, it's just kind of like she could have had, like, some more bite to her. I don't know. But it's hard to say that because a core theme of her character is that she doesn't want to fight because her mother. So, like, I kind of have complicated feelings on it. But, however, just later in the story, Like, she's just kind of like, because she doesn't really fight, and everyone just wants to protect her from having to fight, like, ever again, like, she kind of just ends up getting kind of, I don't want to say sidelined, because she's present, but kind of like, she has to let everyone else do the fighting for her, where she can't take as much of an active role. So it's complicated. I do love when Go and Nika Robin protects her, and it's not always her dad, because, like, women. But it's just something that is complicated with her character. But I feel like it is justified by the story. But you know what I'm trying, you know what I'm saying. It's just complicated. Also, something I wanted to compare about them is their dads both play central parts in their story. For Vivi, her dad being the king, and obviously her royalty, not necessarily her royalty is important to her, but protecting her people is most important to them. And what I find interesting later in the story is that her dad's actually, like, getting sick, and I'm really worried about him. Because I can make a whole video about Cobra. I have complicated feelings with that man, but I generally do think he has the best intentions. So if Cobra is, like, you know what I'm that means that Vivi will probably have to become the queen soon, which I'm excited for her, but it also makes me sad because we know how much Vivi loves adventure, and she's staying here because of her duty, because she loves her people, but you could make the argument that, like, secretly she really wants to go sail around. So I don't really know how, and that's just part of the tragedy of Vivi's character, is that she cares more about her responsibility necessarily in her own feelings, because it's her people. Like, that's the will that was placed upon her. Ha ha. Fucking One Piece terms. Otherwise, while Rebecca, she didn't remember her dad exists most of her life, which is so tragic. And so her dad had to play being this pretend soldier, who was training her, and she, like, was terrorized very young in her life. So she didn't really have a chance to have a normal childhood like someone like Vivi, because as soon as she probably could walk, her mom was, and she only had this toy soldier with broken leg walking around trying to help her out. And it is very sad in that way. So I appreciate that both of their dads are central in their story, because I feel like both of those relationships are written well. And I don't feel like it devalues their character as women's, because their father figures have central lives. I am very curious about Vivi's mother, but it's either non-important or I'll learn it in like 200 episodes. And unfortunately, Rebecca's mother is just kind of like, she gave her will of not wanting to fight, but besides that, like, yeah. So these are kind of just like some of my, like, thoughts about Vivi and Rebecca. I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to think as well. Respectfully, remember, please keep spoilers far away from where I'm at. Overall, I think both of them are really well written characters, but I do feel like in the context of the story, Rebecca is constantly undermined, and so that is why she didn't leave as much of a lasting impact on the story, especially because, like I mentioned, Dressrosa's got a lot going on, so unlike Vivi and Alabasta, she doesn't really get as much time to shine, because I would even argue that Weepy Hoshi, yes, I call her Weepy Hoshi, I'm sorry, I know that's probably rude to her, but that's just so funny in my head, like, much more of an impact. But then again, once again, Fishman Island was much of a simpler arc, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but Dressrosa was massive, okay, massive. So we just don't have as much time to shine. But yeah, I'm interested in what you have to say. Like, this isn't a hate video on Vivi or Rebecca or One Piece or whatever. It's just me thinking critically about media or something, or trying to. But yeah. I hope you have a wonderful day. Please take care of yourself. Feel free to leave your thoughts and whatever below. Just remember to be respectful, my friends. And thank you for your time. I appreciate you. Bye.